If you know nothing else about spaceflight, you have likely seen the movie Apollo 13 and heard those famous words, "Houston, we have a problem." However, the story of how mission control facilities landed on the Texas Gulf Coast is a much, much bigger story. At the conclusion of World War II in 1945, the United States and Soviet Union, who were two former allies during the war, began a military and political rivalry that would last for decades, which we know today as the Cold War. Both powers had realized during the war that rocket technology would be the key to military superiority in the years to come. The Nazi forces had far more advanced weaponry than the Allies, and that had been the focus of German scientists and Hitler's government, primarily for military purposes. After the war's end, both governments hurried to collect the technology and the scientists who worked on it to use for their own purposes. This arms race would later give way to the space race. Both countries claimed that they would be the first to launch craft into outer space. The Soviets successfully launched the Sputnik satellite on October 4th, 1957. It was about a 180-pound satellite that circled the Earth for 22 days, transmitting radio signals back to Earth. The Eisenhower administration had founded the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, but their priority was not what it was during the Kennedy years. Eisenhower was cautious because he wanted the separation between military and civilian spaceflight, and he was also very concerned with a balanced budget. The Kennedy administration increased the budget to NASA by 89% upon taking office. At the time, most of the U.S. space operations had taken place out of Cape Canaveral in Florida. The Launch Operations Center was where rockets were launched from, and it was renamed the Kennedy Space Center after his death in 1963. The mission control facilities at the time were at the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station and were moved to Texas in April of 1965. There are a number of reasons for this that you can read about online depending on who wrote it, but one of the consistent elements of it was that being in Houston opened the space program to more manpower. When this facility opened, it was called the Manned Spacecraft Center and was not renamed for the late President Lyndon Baines Johnson until February of 1973. Now, when you're looking at this, it's pretty interesting because here we have December of 1953, and then the next overlay is 1969, but the Johnson Space Center actually opened in September of 1963, and that was what was very interesting about this. So if you go forward to 1978, here you have the Space Center. But prior to satellites, these photos were taken from any kinds of different aircraft, blimps, balloons, aircraft, but as you can see, the boxes here, they were taken in small portions and kind of all stitched together and overlaid because at that point in time there were no satellites. And so it was very interesting that the one photo that would have captured the new Space Center has some kind of air there for some reason. But yeah, so moving forward, here's the Space Center. It is still there today, and that is still mission control for the International Space Station and all of NASA's activities. I know that some of the private space companies have mission control facilities elsewhere, but yeah, really coincidental that was the case there. But yeah, thanks for watching.